Okay, peeps, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over the CONY ETF and Coinbase and how Coinbase could be and the CONY ETF could be potentially about ready to have another moonshot to the upside. So with that being said, let's get it. So something I want to point out to you guys, I don't have the stats right in front of me, so I'll have to pull these up in a later video, but something that I wanted to point out to you guys is that this is going to be interesting, okay? The worst trading months of the year for the traditional stock markets is February, June, or I'm sorry, typically February, June, and September, but sometimes February, March, June, and September. So stocks could be seeing a pullback in both February and March as of right now, if history is to repeat itself. However, Bitcoin generally goes up in the month of February. So very interesting divergence going on there. We'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. But uh, so it's kind of a coin flip, I would say, as to whether Bitcoin itself is going to go up. But if history does repeat and um, Bitcoin is to go up in the month of February, like it generally speaking does throughout history, then Coinbase and CONY are probably going to go up with it. But even if it does not, understand that the Bitcoin halving is only about 2 months away. And probably closer to the end of this year, we're going to see Coinbase and CONY moonshot. Okay. So let's get into the technicals here. As you guys can see, we are very, very close to the overall support line or support zone, I mean to say. And from this point, I am expecting us to have a massive bounce up to the upside. Now, is it going to happen all at once, all overnight? No, probably not. Understand that this is going to be a move up over a period of time. So as you guys can see here, we had roughly about 24 weeks. So the 24 bars equals 24 weeks. So basically about 6 months of movement up. Now the CONY ETF was around during that time. And you guys saw that the price of CONY basically went from $18 to $30. So a massive move, roughly about 40% to the upside. Whereas Coinbase itself had about 77%. So big move there. Now, in terms of the MACD, you guys can see that the MACD is trying to pull back up here. It looks like potentially the MACD and the RSI might be getting ready to curl back to the upside. I say this because we had a bottom here and then we have another bottom here, but we haven't pushed lower on either one of these. So this is a potential early sign of a reversal. Also, we had the histogram moving up back into the break even as the price was moving down. That indicates a weakening of trend, which means that Coinbase might be about ready to move to the upside. It turned red here, but then again, of course, it's now going back towards the break even. Another thing that could send the price of Coinbase higher is the earnings that's coming up. As you guys can see, it's roughly about a week from now. So if we look at the calendar, that is next Thursday. Whether that's going to be before market open or after market open, not entirely sure about that, but I don't think it really matters when it happens. It only matters that the market interprets the earnings as bullish. That's what matters. And ever since Coinbase has gone to a subscription-based service, they have obviously, as you guys can see, regardless of the markets getting beat down, they have beat earnings, which is why the E shows as green. So something I want to point out in Coinbase's history here, as you guys can see, every single time we have hit one of these major support zones, we have had a massive bounce. So you guys can see here, we hit the support zone and the overall move was pretty large. It was about 190% from the bottom to the top. Again, here, this is during roughly about the end of the bear market of 2022. We had another massive pop, about 180% from the bottom to the top. And from this move here, from the bottom to the top, we had about a 140% move. And that was when we went from basically blasted off from support into the next resistance zone. And then this one actually pretty much just cut straight through support. It didn't really even test it. Honestly, it just went straight up. But pretty much once we tested the support at even just a little bit. I mean, it wasn't really a test, honestly, per se, but about a 65% move. So if we take a look at the technicals here, you guys can see that very clearly, just green straight all the way through. There was no testing of it. The EMAs fanned out, and we just basically kept riding the 9 EMA all the way up. That's a very bullish sign. So I think the earnings could potentially kick off a massive move to the upside in this thing. The reason why we sold off from this point over here at 187 is pretty clear because it was roughly around the same time frame as the March dump. Not exactly the same price, but pretty close. So if we take a look at the March dump, as you guys can see back here, of course, Bitcoin did something very similar. Bitcoin had a March high, which it's still struggling with currently at 48K. Once it hit that, it sold off. That was the swing high in an overall downtrend. But you guys can see that pretty much even during the bear market, as you guys can see, when we hit this support zone, which is now resistance, we had a massive bounce. So kind of the thesis behind this is every time this thing hits the support, pretty much expect it to bounce. Buyers are obviously sitting there waiting to buy the dip. And when they do, the price moonshots pretty hard to the upside. So pretty much what we're looking for here, as you guys can see, there was a test here of the EMAs. It did not break out and move to the upside. It was actually a fake out, and we shot back down below and sold off. But do understand that was towards the end of the bull cycle of crypto. We are not even at the beginning yet. The beginning of the bull cycle technically starts when the prices hit bottom during the bear market, which we've already had, but the actual true most parabolic part of the cycle begins after the halving, probably roughly about 3 to 7 months afterwards. And we're coming up on that time right now. So we're past the end of the bear market, getting ready to enter into the beginning of the bull market, the most parabolic phase. I would say we're pretty much in the warm-up phase right now for crypto and Coinbase and pretty much everything related to crypto. But the first thing that we want to see for the massive bullish move is obviously we want to see these indicators turn bullish and have the golden cross, although the RSI has pretty much done that. As you guys can see here, it's getting ready to cross. To have an actual confirmation, I would say give it another week. We might see that. Earnings are coming up. That's going to be a big catalyst. A lot of traders, swing traders especially, are going to be looking to capitalize on that. And the MACDs would have to have a golden cross too. So once that happens, the next thing that we're looking for here is basically a candle close above this downward trend line here, which currently sits at about 126 a share. And then a close above all of these EMAs. And then after the price moves up for a while, we pretty much want to see a triple golden cross, kind of similar to what we saw back here. And obviously, you guys know that the price pretty much went from $77 all the way up to 187, so about a 2.5x move. So we want to see all those things play out. Now, what could that mean for CONY? Well, it could mean big things for CONY, as we told you guys before. We could see CONY probably at $50 or $60 a share by the peak of the bull cycle, at least, if not more. As you guys see from the bottom of this move here to the top, it was just a horrendously bullish move, 67%. Of course, we're pretty much back down at those levels now. So we are holding support. Of course, how this thing trades depends on the underlying with Coinbase, and we told you guys on Coinbase it's looking pretty bullish. Every time Coinbase hits a support zone, has a massive move to the upside. And so we're expecting something very similar with CONY. Obviously, the first target here would be between 2180 to 2250, and then you have your swing high up there at about 26.30 a share, and then obviously the top at $30 a share. So the most important things I would say to watch out for is the reaction for the earnings coming next week on Coinbase. And then obviously the Bitcoin halving. Everybody knows that has been in crypto for a while that once that takes place, it's on after that. People are going to be loading up the boat, getting ready for the massive moves up in crypto, which could align nicely with the Fed rate cuts if it turns out like we think it's going to. And then keep a lookout for Bitcoin to break its previous all-time high, which usually happens roughly around the end of the halving year. So just so you all know, we are loading the boat even more so on CONY right now. We just bought some shares today, I believe. I think we bought like $20 worth. And we're basically just going to continue to DCA into the halving and beyond the halving. It's kind of our crypto passive income dividend play, if you will, to at least capitalize on the price appreciation and the massive dividend payouts that are going to be coming throughout the entirety of the bull cycle coming up. So there's one more thing to mention here, and we'll have to pull up a graph on this so you guys can see for yourselves. But a lot of people compare Bitcoin to gold. Why does this matter in terms of Coinbase and CONY? Well, the reason being is because a lot of the massive multi-trillion-dollar financial institutions are using Coinbase as their custodian, which means they're buying and selling the vast majority of the Bitcoin that they have through Coinbase. That's obviously very bullish for the price of CONY and Coinbase. But when the first gold, okay, so when the United States came off the gold standard, and this is very old news, okay, this was like back in like the 80s or something like that, late 70s, early 80s. One of the prior presidents that we had took us off the gold standard, and the price of gold went up massively after that. But a gold ETF was brought into inception for the first time, where you could buy and get exposure to gold, like similar with the spot Bitcoin ETFs, without having to own the actual gold. The price of gold did like a 6 or 7x in the following years. Okay. It went just absolutely ridiculous to the upside. It went massive. And obviously, I think the price of gold back then when the ETF was brought into inception was like $40 a share. As you guys know now, the price of gold is $2,000 a share. So, do the math. It's a massive return. But the point of this is that Bitcoin and Coinbase could be going up for many years on end into the future if something very similar plays out with Bitcoin and the spot Bitcoin ETFs that also played out with gold in the past. So that's just something to keep in mind. We're going to have to do some research, pull in all the data for you guys so you can understand what we're talking about here. But we have seen the charts for ourselves, and we're not including it in this video because this is CONY specific, but at some point we will show it to you so you guys can understand the potential visionary aspect of where Coinbase and CONY could be going in parallel with Bitcoin in the future. So anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.